friend. Welcome to Wild and Waking, a sacred space for the woman unraveling what no longer fits, remembering the truth that's always lived inside her, reclaiming her joy, her voice, her power, and rising fully, fiercely, and without apology. I'm your host, Emily Rushell, and together we'll explore what it means to live in alignment, lead with soul, and awaken a life of abundance, authenticity, and purpose. Let's begin. Hi, friends. Welcome back to Wild and Waking. Today, we are joined by a voice you have heard before. I love to welcome Andrea to the podcast. Today, we're going to be talking all about self-trust, internal family systems. We're going to go just deep in what does it look like when you are on the threshold of something new, bringing really meaningful work to the world, whether it's in your own life, in your business, in your community, in your family, how to really, on a deep level, rebuild that relationship with self to move with undeniable self-trust, which is a theme that has come up time and time and time and time again. I cannot overstate how this is really, I feel like in some ways, the missing piece we've all been looking for. So many of us have tried so many different things and have gotten trapped in the spiral of why is this not working? Especially as high achieving, big impact driven women. And this is a link that I have found as well. And I love your approach to it. I love the work that you're doing to really dig beneath the surface and the tools that you're bringing to it. I'm so excited for this conversation. So welcome to Wild and Waking.
Yay. Thank you for having me. I'm so excited for this conversation because you're absolutely right. Self-trust is the missing piece to all of the questions that we have been asking. And the one that I've been leading with recently is why do brilliant, capable women still doubt themselves when it matters most? And that's what my work, I realized, has always been about, is getting women to this place of unfuckwithable certainty
Yes.
that they've got themselves. Regardless of what is going on around them, unshakable certainty of I've got me.
Okay, before we dive into that, I would love from your perspective, some of the elements that you think have contributed to this disconnection from self, especially in, the women listening to the show, women like us who are high achieving, incredibly capable, big hearts and missions on their mind.
Yeah. Well, listen, nothing is wrong with you. We were literally never taught how and actually incentivized to do the opposite, right? From our earliest moments, we've been trained and indoctrinated to believe everybody else, follow the rules, do what we're told, punished for questioning, right? I don't know about you, but that was certainly true in my upbringing, where it was just if you questioned anything that was, the way that it was, then you were in trouble. And so being incentivized to follow the rules and not ask questions is just baked into us. And so it is such a radical thing to do, to start asking questions and start challenging whose authority are we really listening to. And we could use broad stroke terms of patriarchy, of course, which has just, of course, capitalized on a woman's ability to not question, to not stand true in her own inner knowing, in her own trusting of herself, to trust a system, to trust somebody else, to trust the other, whatever other might be, whether it's a system, a boss, a partner, money, right? Trust that over what you know to be true in you keeps us consumers, keeps us stuck, keeps us questioning, keeps us doubtful, keeps us complacent, and ultimately fucked.
Well, yeah, the more we think about playing by the rules or what are they going to think or someone else's expectations or this is what girls do or whatever inner dialogue, whether we are consciously choosing it or not, it is running in the background for so many of us and has been for so long. And it keeps us small, like you said, keeps us complacent, keeps us consuming, keeps us on this hamster wheel of trying to prove, trying to do, trying to achieve, but only within the constraints of the safety that we understand. And I really believe that when women are in their power, we fuck shit up. We do not stand for injustice. We are actively pushing against We are actively truth seeking. So, of course, it would behoove anyone to like disempower that and like disconnect it at its source.
Exactly. And I just like, while you say that, I have shivers in my body. Like, there is nothing that feels more true. And we're at such a critical point right now of change, right? Like, we can see that things are being disrupted, things are breaking down, things are not working, right? That's why it's so intense out there. And like, we are waking up to the truth of that. And that is so exciting to me, and we can, if we're seeing these patterns in ourselves, it can be so easy to go into like, oh my God, I've done so much work. Why am I still dealing with this? And go into like a self-shaming or self-blaming about it. But I actually see this as a critical point of like, okay, let's clean that up because something more true wants to come through from you. And the feminine, the matriarchy is being called forward right now. And I think that is so exciting. But it's also really scary because we have no idea what that looks like. And
Yeah, we have
it's
no,
not stepping into the masculine. I mean, of course, embodying the healthy masculine within it, but it's not just stepping into what's already been done as a woman. No, it like looks like something that we don't have a template for yet. And that's exciting. And that's also very scary because we've been taught to do what we're told and follow what we've always seen. And it requires a different kind of listening.
yeah. It's interesting because I was just having this conversation on a mastermind call this week. And specifically, I was referencing, I was having a conversation with a woman who sells agricultural seed. And over the past several months of working together, like she's really started shedding and letting go of these like expectations she had already been pushing against, but we're still kind of like clawed in of like what it means to be a good representative of this company or do the work like her male counterparts, yada, yada, yada. And another woman on the call is the farmer herself. And she was talking about like, through this journey that she's been on and really stepping into herself, how she's showing up for these like ag conferences and meetings that are like predominantly men. And she's like done up and in clothes that like wouldn't be traditionally whatever. And she's like, yeah, I get comments about it, but like I'm 1,000% more confident and I'm like showing up unapologetic. Like I am a woman and I am a farmer and I'm not going to dress like the way that I used to try to like blend in and like be one of the boys. And we were just having this conversation of like, for the women in this industry, and this is true of many spaces, right? It's like for so long, so many of the women have been like clawing their way to like fit in with the boys and like be taken seriously or like find their seat at the table, which is incredible in itself, right? But I'm like, the harder that you try to be like them, the more disservice you are actually doing for what makes you exceptional. Like all of these, and obviously we're making mass generalizations here when we're talking about the masculine versus the feminine, right? That's a whole nother conversation. But I'm like, when you are stepping into your gifts, your power, the thing that makes you radically different from your male counterparts, like first of all, you're not drowning in this spiral of like trying to be what someone else wants you to be. But second of all, like you are a magnet. You are a magnet for abundance. You are like people want to work with you specifically because you bring something different to the table. And so, and I think that there's a lesson in that for everything. Like the more you try to contort yourself into someone else's ideology of how you should be, the worse experience you are having as an individual, but also like you're quite literally like radiating that like tight grip. You're just like shrinking, this like making yourself retracted and smaller. And it's like actually living in like the fullest expression of your power, of your identity, of yourself, what makes you unique and different. Like that is going to shoot you above and beyond in a way that still feels fucking amazing and so powerful and so embodied. And so, maybe that is like donning yourself however you would want to. And maybe it's just like owning who the fuck you are. But I love that you bring up that it's not a matter of just like, I think it's really interesting, this conversation of matriarchy right now. Because I
Mhm.
see people be like,
Mhm.
matriarchy now. I'm like, what does that actually mean to you? Because it's not, let's just plug women into the system as it exists. Although I'm also here for that. Like, that's certainly a step I would love to see. But like, when we are talking about like, what is the opposite? What is the antidote? What is the opportunity that's different than what we're seeing, it is not just an inverse of women in charge in the way that we have seen men be in charge. It is like a full, like, just transformation. So I feel like that's like a whole nother conversation, but I am so curious and so fired up about that right now.
I know. And like, I think the only way that even comes about, because we don't know what it looks like. And when I think about times in my life when I have been at a threshold moment as well, I'm like, this is what's happening here. We're at a threshold. And when I say threshold, this isn't your regular transition. We're talking threshold because what we're being called into is something that we've never seen before. And this is happening on individual levels in almost every conversation I've had over the last couple of months. And it's happening at a collective level. And a threshold means that we're being called and we can feel it to something that we don't know what it looks like. We don't know where it's going, but we know that it's there. And so, how do we prepare ourselves for these threshold moments as individuals and as a collective? And when I've been in a personal threshold moment, I think of, when I left my teaching career after 13 years and had no idea what I was going to do with my life. Like, I was 2019, burned out from teaching. I was just so maxed out that I didn't even have the capacity to start thinking ahead. And the biggest, baddest, boldest thing that I did in that moment was decide that I didn't need to have the whole map, which is a scary thing, right? To be like, if you're also in that threshold moment, to think like, oh my God, I don't know what I'm going to do. How do I prepare for this? But what I decided to do was, rather than having the whole map, I would decide every single day, like I would ask my intuition, what do I need today? Or what do I feel today? And I would just do it. And there was a commitment to that, my intuition, trusting myself and acting on it, that I would choose little things. Like sometimes what would come through was like, go to the park today or go to the beach today. Or like then the decisions got more loftier. It was like, get a dog, take your yoga teacher training. And I would just kept saying yes to it. And ultimately it got me to where I am now, which is coaching and writing and serving women in this way that like, there is no way I could have saw that when it was like June 2019 and I was burnt out as fuck and I didn't know what I was going to do with my life. But what got me there was a different kind of trust, a different kind of listening. And that's what we're invited to right now. Like we can't see it, but we can follow the nudges and we can follow the feeling. And that's what we're being invited to right now. Just because we can't see what matriarchy will look like, we know what it's going to feel like. And like day by day, all of our little choices, every time we choose to trust ourselves, every time we choose intuition, every time we choose alignment, like that's how we're going to get there. So we have to throw away this idea that we're going to know what it looks like perfectly before we get there, and trust our own individual and trust each other, right? Like trust the other women that are in this mycelium network, that they're fucking doing it too. And together we're going to figure it out. And the world is going to look radically different in a year, but 4, 5, 6 years for sure.
Well, and that also makes me think, I've done a lot of work with women over the year related to goal setting. And oftentimes we can so clearly see the vision that is like the end goal. And it is so crystal clear. We have it all mapped out and it is so big and we know that it's possible, but it is so far away that it feels impossible to get there. And so we almost like stop in this fear of like, well, I can't make that happen today. So I may as well just stay right here. Like that's too big. That's too scary. That's too much. That's too far. I don't know how to do it. So I'm just going to stay right here. And so much of working towards goals is like, okay, well, let's pull that back to like, what is the feeling? What are the steps? What are like the little bits? Like that might be year 10. And like 1000% you can do that. It's true that you're not going to just like magically wake up and manifest that tomorrow morning. But like, where do we start? Because you can't get to year 10, like literally tomorrow. And so I think that same ideology applies here. Like you and I could sit here and be like, oh my gosh, in our like perfect version of the matriarchal world, here's what it's going to look like, and here's what it's going to feel like, and it's going to be so beautiful, and we're going to love it so much. But that's so disconnected from the current reality. Like, I don't even know where to start. I don't even know how to try. It's like, okay, once again, like we don't have to create the dream in this exact moment, but like what are the steps as sovereign women, as women rebuilding trust with each other, as women challenging systems, as women stepping into their power that helps bring that feeling into the present so that that future is possible. And I also find a lot of comfort in knowing like this is likely going to be a multi-generation experience. And it is not on any one of us to like wave a magic wand and then like make this all happen tomorrow. But each and every one of us have the agency to be the light bearers of change that makes that possible.
Yeah. And when I think of those steps, like when I recently wrote my first book, I call it the Self-Trust Journal.
So
And
exciting.
inside of the journal, I break down 4 of these phases, I would say, rather than, this is the 4-step formula to self-trust that kind of like makes me want to throw up a bit in my throat. Like, ew, no, there isn't like a perfect 4-step plan for anything. Okay. But the phases that people need to go through to really start to cultivate self-trust, we start with intention.
Mm.
And we've kind of gotten that wrong in the past. Rather than actually creating clear decisions, we stay in the hoping and we stay in the wishing, in the like, oh, wouldn't it be nice if, rather than like fully stepping in and claiming. And so if there was going to be like a phase or a process to get there, we have to start creating intentions. And that's going to help you trust yourself in whatever that you are creating. And those intentions, I mean, when I talk to my clients about the self-trust blueprint, it's a spiral. Those intentions are designed to change and for us to come back to them and change them. But that doesn't mean that we stand here and just go, oh, okay, well, wouldn't it be nice, and hoping and wishing and dreaming and like, oh, if I win the lottery, then. No, like make a decision, make a declaration, draw the line in the sand and start with your intention, something that is clear, something that is specific. Because without that, nothing's going to come to fruition. So that's where you get to start to take your power back and create the intention for whether that's for right now, whether that's for the next year, whether that's the next 10 years. That's the first step that we all really need to step into.
When you say intention, what do you mean by that?
Yeah, I mean, like we think of goals and we think of resolutions and we think of like what it is we're trying to call in. But a lot of the times when people think of intentions, we hide behind flowery language like, I want to cultivate abundance. Like, what does that mean? Right? Or we hide behind safety. Like, okay, well, wouldn't it be nice if, rather than like going all in and making a decision, saying like, no, I will generate $250,000 so I can get myself out of debt and then start saving for my dream. That's different, right? Now I have something I can get behind rather than I want to cultivate abundance. Like, come on.
Like getting really specific. And I have found like speaking, talking, writing, and acting as if it's already true, like literally retrains our brain.
Yeah. And then the next phase of the blueprint would be like taking responsibility for it, like being your own yes to your intention, right?
I love that.
Taking like, and I think it's empowering rather than like a disempowering, where am I getting in my own way around this? But like taking your power back and claiming that intention as something that is rightfully yours, not going into victim, right? We have spent so long in victim. But like, where can we actually just be agents of our own intention? And then, of course, because we're human and we have been brought up in a patriarchy, in this society, in this culture, we all have parts, right? We all have our shadow patterns that will come up. And this is where people can kind of start to get scared, start to back away, start to feel like they're stuck or confused or overwhelmed. But really, doing I call it understanding shadow, but I do shadow work through the lens of internal family systems or IFS or parts work that people might be familiar with. And that's a really important part of doing this work. And these 4 phases is clearing up what is no longer in alignment with our intentions of where we are going. And so I'm going to dive a little bit deeper into like IFS and parts work here. So if anybody doesn't know, when I say IFS, it means internal family systems. You might be more familiar with it being called parts work. It's based on the work of Dr. Richard Schwartz. And essentially, it's based on this understanding that we are all inherently multiple. We have different sub-personalities and aspects to us with their own intentions, dreams, desires, strategies that don't always align with our highest self. And the reason that it's called parts work is actually very simple. It's not about your body parts. It's, not that kind of thing. It's because this is how we talk about it. Because if you think about even the last time you were invited to a party, guaranteed a part of you wanted to go and a part of you wanted to stay home, right? If you're a high achieving woman, you have this great idea for a project or an event that you want to launch. A part of you is super excited about it and a part of you is terrified. This is how we naturally talk about it. But this is how we can relate to, the parts of us that are perfectionists, the parts of us that are people pleasers, even the parts of us that are achievers, the parts of us that are terrified. These are all aspects to us who aren't who we are, right? Who we are as self with a capital S, self energy, but parts are different. Parts can be worked with, parts can be updated, parts can be integrated, healed so that they don't have to run our choices, run our decisions, and take up so much what I call like energetic real estate. It's like these are hoops we need to jump through every time we want to create the thing, have the conversation, speak up, do the bold thing. And when those are taking up so much room, we don't have as much capacity for what it is that we're calling in. So what makes parts work like uniquely different is that it's really compassionate and it's based on relationship. So we're relating to ourselves and relating to these parts as these helpful protectors, because that's essentially what they're trying to do, be helpful and protect us, but they don't realize that they are so firmly stuck in the past. They aren't updated to who we are now and what we're available for now, that they need to be integrated and they need to be updated. So they're running around in there thinking that they are helping the 6-year-old little girl not get, in trouble by her teacher. Meanwhile, the grown woman sitting here has big, bold visions of things that she wants to create and put out in the world. And so we get to do the work to clear that up so that you can have the space and the capacity and the energy required to put your dreams into manifest in the real world. So at a high level, that's what we're talking about.
So when you're talking about working with the parts or healing the parts or integrating with the parts, I know this is probably, there's many answers and it's very highly individualized, but what are some examples of what that means? Like, how do we work with the parts to actually move forward?
Yeah, so this is where it gets super woo-woo and wild and why I love it so much. Because this isn't just about knowing about it. And this is where we get stuck as women who've done a ton of work and we can name our patterns and we know our patterns, but we're not analyzing them anymore. We're dropping from the head to the heart and we're relating to them differently. So when I guide somebody into their inner system, we aren't just talking about their patterns and what's showing up. We might start there. And self-awareness is such a beautiful first step. But what I get to do is I almost get to be this guiding you into relationship with your part. not just knowing about it, but really connecting with it. So, like if I were to drop somebody into their internal system, they would close their eyes down, they would connect inside. There is a very intuitive aspect here. They might sense their parts in or around their body. And then almost always people start getting a memory or getting a visual or getting some sort of like energy in their field that they want to connect with. And now we're in relationship with the part. So these parts show up and we can start having conversations with them, right? And these aren't things like what we think they would say. These are literally our parts in conversation with us so that we can really get to an understanding of what they're here and trying to do. And every single time, Emily, like people find things out from their parts that they wouldn't have realized just from understanding alone. Like, oh my God, this is about that time in second grade when I was humiliated by the teacher for not showing up on time. And they're taken aback and instantly dropped into so much compassion. Like, whoa, there's a part of me that is still in so much pain. And being able to relate to an aspect of you with so much tenderness and so much love and so much compassion and turning that on yourself, like feeling that alchemizes that hurt and pain and shame and hiding that that part has been in for decades. And that's where the integration happens. Not because we remember that that shitty thing happened, not because we're angry that the teacher did that to us, but it's almost like we get to go and we get to hold that part of us that was hurting. And if that's the part that's been achieving and making sure that you're never late and making sure that you're running on overdrive so that you don't get humiliated, guess what? You integrate that part and then your compulsion, desire, or pattern to do that on autopilot anymore starts to relax. It starts to lessen. And it's beautiful and wild. Like there's nothing that you need to think about more. You don't need to track your habits. You actually just get to relate to life differently because you've healed those parts of you.
I love that you bring that up because one thing I have really had to wrap my head around over the past several years is the difference between understanding and intellectualizing something and actually integrating it, which is a pattern that I see come up. It's like, oh, I know better. I thought I've already worked through this, or I already have done a lot of work to understand this, but why is this still happening? So what does that look like in your work?
Well, and that's exactly it. And those are the women that come to me too. And if that's you, if you're listening to this and there's shame around that, like, please know that like nothing is wrong with you. You haven't failed personal development 101. This isn't an understanding problem, right? This is a relationship problem, right? Most of us haven't been guided from our heads to our hearts to be able to relate to ourselves that way. And we need somebody to take us there because this isn't something that we figure out. This is something we feel out, right? Like I think I mentioned earlier, I'm walking the Camino this summer and it's something that I've been wanting to do forever. But I would get too overwhelmed thinking about like, okay, where do I start and which one do I walk and how do I book the hostels and I need a pass and like, I just couldn't figure it out. And then there's somebody that I've been following for years that is taking a small group. And he was like, well, I'll show you. I'll show you how to do it. And immediately I was like, sign me up. This is a no-brainer. So what I get to do is show people how to get from that intellectualization to the feeling, from their head to their heart so they can relate differently. Because ultimately it's a relating issue and IFS gives us the tool to be able to relate to our parts differently. So there is a genuine sense and feeling of love and compassion and care and calm for these aspects of us that previously we have just tried to figure out and get over already.
Yeah. It like becomes this shame spiral.
It does. And so we add on this extra layer of like, I should be over this already, when really we haven't related to it in a way that creates the care and compassion for it to actually shift.
Mm. I think that was a branch on you talking about the third phase of the journey that you describe. So where do we go from there?
From there, we can take action, right? From there, it's about connecting to our intentions and taking action, taking the actions that are connected to our intentions that are self led. So, when we're talking about shadow and we're talking about parts, most of our life is run from our parts. Our parts are making the decisions, our parts are choosing for us. We even have activist parts, we have achieving parts, right? It's like when the agenda comes from our parts and not our truest, highest self, they only go so far and we don't have as much capacity. But the fourth phase is taking actions grounded in truth, in who we are. So the actions, we have capacity for them. They have the more of a possibility of like landing and going further. We're not as attached to outcomes. And these are the actions that create the ripple effect that we are really going for. Like this is what we would call embodiment, right? Like walking the talk and living it and breathing it. And the actions that come from a self-led place feel completely different. They might look the same, right? Like I've got some pretty strong manager parts that can build a program, launch it, sell it, invite people in, and they could do it no problem. And I know by the end of that, I will be exhausted and burnt out. And if it doesn't go how I want, I will be mad. Same actions from self, from that essence of me that is clear and connected and like doesn't care about how certain the outcome is, right? That essence of me who has perspective and is playful. When it comes from that, I'm magnetic. People come, it's easy, it's fun, it's juicy. Things happen that I would never have expected. And so, the invitation is like, yes, self-trust is built by taking risks. And self-trust says, like, I know what is true for me. And self-leadership says, and I'm willing to live it. And the actions we get to take come from that place.
And it's so interesting to try to describe to someone who has not been down this journey. But there is so much truth in that, like, your external reality may not look any different. Like, the things on your to-do list, what's going on around you, like your job, like whatever. But when you are moving from a place of self-trust, the way that you move through the world is radically different. The way that you experience reality is radically different. Like, the way it all feels is radically different. The ease in which you move is radically different. And even if, like, quote unquote, the to-do list hasn't changed, like, everything is different. And that sounds so massively oversimplified, but it is incredible. Incredible.
Yeah, I know. And it's so funny when that lands for a client and they're like, "Oh, nothing has changed, but everything's different." I'm like, "Yeah, I told you."
Yes, that is a phrase I've come back to so many times over the last year. Nothing is changing and everything is changing.
My my favorite results, if I'm ever going to get them, if a client ever reaches out to me like months or years later, my favorite thing is like, wow, Andrea, life is on fire. I'm in this career transition. My boyfriend and I just broke up and, like my dad is in hospice and I'm okay, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
I've got it. 2 or 3 years ago, I would have been spinning, but I've got this. And that for me is everything, right? Just to be able to handle more of what life has for you. The point of the work isn't for life to stop lifing, for you to like walk through the world unscathed. No. But for you to have the capacity for everything that is here for you to be able to handle the intensity, the quote unquote good and bad, and be okay, is everything.
Yeah, it is. And when you're not drowning in the, am I making the right move? I need the confidence. What are other people going to think? Like when that chatter is dim, if not non existent, like it is actually incredible what you can do with like, and I say zero fucks. It's not that you don't care, but it's like you're not spiraling out in all of these other things. It's just like, yeah, of course, it's already done.
Yeah, exactly. And that chatter is your parts, right? And we don't get rid of them by silencing them. We get rid of them by listening to them, right? And as mamas with little ones at home, you know this. Your toddler needs something. If you're ignoring them, they get louder, right? Our parts are the same. They're exactly the same. But when we turn towards them, we don't even necessarily do what they say they want, right? We get to mother them and guide our parts from this way of like loving perspective to be like, I really hear that you need that right now. And I'm just going to sit with you and breathe with you and be here.
That is such a resonant analogy and something I do all the time with my kids. Like just even saying like I hear you. That is so hard. Like this isn't going like this isn't going the way you want it to. Like the situation's not changing. I'm not changing my mind, but I'm here. Like your feelings are not too big or too much. Like we got this. Like I understand. I'm here to hold you. That resonates so deeply.
Yeah. And then how many of us are actually relating to ourselves and our parts that way? Almost never, right? It's like, okay, do better, do faster, do more. Why don't you have this already? That's our internal self-talk. Not like, hey, I'm with you. I know this is hard. I'm here.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's I think that disconnected piece between like intellectually logically I know, but I'm also like sitting in this place of shame and it's like the bridge to that is I love that you made that connection is that like in the moment compassion in the same way that you would mother your toddler who's having a hard time.
Yeah, exactly. And we don't inherently know how to do that. So we need guides, people that can show us the path, the bridge from our head to our heart to go there. And so that it becomes easier. And that's the thing is like, if you're sitting there and going like, oh my God, I have a million parts, Andrea, I'm going to be in coaching for 600 years. You're not. Because this isn't like a checklist where we're like, okay, perfectionist and done. Okay, high achiever, done. Like, no, it's a relationship. So once you learn how to relate differently, you can start to trust yourself immediately because
Yeah.
you know how to
It
relate.
ripple effects.
Exactly. You know how to relate to all of the parts. You know how to relate to all of the chatter. You know how to relate to your whole experience. And when they aren't in there making that noise, holy moly. Like the way you walk through the world with dignity, with self-respect, with self-trust, with just this self-leadership is so fucking powerful.
It is. Okay, tell us more about the book because I imagine you dive so much deeper through all of this in there. And so if this conversation has piqued someone's interest, I feel like that's a good next step.
Yes, it is. And so the book is the Self-Trust Journal. So it's a practice, it's an experience where I'm guiding you through these 4 phases from self-doubt to unshakable self-trust. And you're going through the 4 phases. I'm asking you questions, I'm telling stories, I'm giving you anecdotes so that you can see what it actually looks like and feels like in real life. And also debunking some of the places we think we're setting intentions and we're not. Right. Or we think we're doing shadow work, but we're really stuck on the healing hamster wheel, So
Yes.
debunking some of those. And so it really is an experience. And it's where I've taken, my 6 years of coaching practice and then laid it out in a book so somebody could actually like follow it on their own. So definitely check it out. It's on Amazon. If you're somebody who just is feeling like this need to trust yourself more for this threshold you're in, definitely check it out. And as a companion, I created an audio experience that's almost like you're behind the scenes with the author. And it's a private audio experience called Nothing Is Wrong With You. And it's a sweet, short episode series where you're hearing my personal stories along with some of the practices in the journal. And I threw in a couple bonuses where you're actually getting to witness a live IFS coaching session with one of my clients. And so if you are like, okay, but what does this actually look like? Listen to that one because it's really juicy. Yeah, so I'll share that as well. And that's completely free. Whether you want to grab the journal or not, you can listen in.
So cool. Okay. Last question I ask everyone who comes on the show, especially on the other side of getting this book out into the world. What does growth look like for you in this season?
Yeah, growth for me in this season is I'm still checking where there are parts of me that are performing authenticity, performing, my leadership rather than actually embodying it. So that's my edge right now is leaning into even more authenticity as somebody who's done a lot of work and who knows all of the right answers. Growth right now is a deeper and wider sense of sharing with the world, this is who I am.
Yeah, it's like a full integration and then allowing to be fully seen in that.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, so cool. Okay, I know you told us about the book. Tell us where we can connect with you online.
Yeah, I have a YouTube channel. If you're like, okay, I'm really curious about this IFS stuff, I have a YouTube channel where you can geek out on all things IFS as it relates to your patterns and your parts. You can hang out, you can go check that out. And I'm on Instagram and I hang out there sometimes. And so if you want to ever just start a conversation and be like, hey, I heard you talking to Emily on the Wild and Waking podcast, please say hi. I am literally on the other end, human to human, sister to sister, heart to heart. I would love to say hi to you.
This community is rock stars at that. I have so many guests message me and be like, I have never gotten so many messages after a podcast interview. So expect to maybe hear from someone. It's always the invitation. We love it. And I'm just it's one of the reasons I'm grateful for this thing called the internet is we get to bring so many incredible women together in this circle of leadership and growth and healing and vulnerability and authenticity. And what a gift that our grandmothers could not have imagined. It's so cool.
It is so cool. I'm so grateful to be in it with you, Emily, and to be connected.
Thank you so much for joining us today. I really appreciate you.
You're welcome. Me too.
Hey friend, I hope this conversation sparked something real in you. Something that feels like truth, curiosity, or the courage to keep becoming. If this episode resonated, I'd love for you to share it. Take a screenshot, post it to your stories, or send it to one of your friends. You can always find me over on Instagram at Emily Rushel, where I love continuing these conversations and hearing your takeaways. Truly, your DMs are one of my favorite parts of podcasting, so don't be shy. I'd love to reflect and connect with you over there. I'm so grateful to be surrounded by a community of women who ask hard questions, sit in the discomfort of the unknown, blaze new paths forward, and ultimately come home to their wild and waking selves. See you next week.